1 year ago, in April of 2017, I quit my job at GameStop. In the year that has followed, almost every single person I worked with during my 3 years there has left the company, and both my district manager and regional manager were fired. This is my GameStop story, but more importantly, this is a warning. Don't work at GameStop, and here's why. My name is Nick, and I bring you Grains of Truth! Yes, I am aware that with my hair I do look like one of the Bee Gees. Talking in a on laughing girl fan of your home. Talking about GameStop. Not much they love this girl you're talking it up. I regret nothing. This is my long overdue video on GameStop and my employment there and stuff like that, but I don't want to get too bogged down with those details necessarily. I kind of have a point, an objective to this video, and that is that I really don't think people should be wanting to or working at GameStop. But to understand why I feel that way, you obviously need a little bit of maybe a little bit of context to understand just where I'm coming from. Now, when I started, which was 2014, this was before they rolled out the GameStop credit card. I wasn't hired on as a seasonal, I was a permanent employee, a GA is what they called it, and what they still call it. The reason I bring up the credit card is because this was kind of a big deal. At the time, I guess. Because they've largely forgotten about it now. But it added just another thing that we were supposed to talk to, we were supposed to upsell to people. Of course, that being GPG, which is that warranty that you get on games. $3 and you can get your game protected for a year. Second thing was PRPs, which is the system warranty. That was, of course, only if you were buying a system, and that's the year warranty that is covered by GameStop. The third thing was the membership. Of course, the membership. How could I not talk about the membership? That's the thing that gives you the year subscription to Game Informer, as well as the discounts on pre-owned games, more points, yada yada yada, who fucking cares? And then that fourth thing was, of course, reservations or pre-orders. Hey, I see that you're buying Call of Duty Ghosts. Well, if you want, Call of Duty Advanced Warfare comes out this November, so you could throw $5 down on it now, and then you can reserve your copy, because let's be honest, you and me both know that you're going to pick it up anyway. Now, there obviously was a general sort of push for pre-owned. If somebody brought up a copy of a game and you have a pre-owned copy of it, you want to tell them, hey, why don't you save a couple dollars by getting the pre-owned version instead of the brand new version. And at the time, this was not very much. As far as the discount goes, there wasn't really a set percentage in 2014. It was more like, if it's a $60 game, that's like maybe $5-ish off, give or take, maybe. And then that's how you'd find things like $16, $17 games that are only $1 off pre-owned, and then the incentive is kind of lost for most consumers. Now, of course, there's the whole, like, you get it for 7 days, and then if you don't like it, you bring it back, and blah blah blah, whatever. But that's not really the point. The point is that these were the things that we needed to push, and the fifth element that got added to that was, of course, the credit card. Now you wanted people to sign up for the credit card that could only be used at GameStop, and then that way they would spend more money inside of the stores rather than taking the money that they earned from their job and going and buying food, and also paying for rent and things, because games are much more important than that, I guess. Now, this isn't too different from what you'd find at any other retailer, or people who work at GameStop currently are probably thinking this isn't too different, minus the credit card. This isn't too different from what I have to do already. But here's the thing. There's a key to why I'm explaining this. That has to do with the fact that when I got in to GameStop, it was what you'd expect from a retailer like this. Just upselling things and making sure that you spend a lot of money in the store. That's it, right? And as a GA, the lowest level tier, of course, a little bit above seasonal, but those people are obviously only held on to for a certain amount of time. So as far as permanent employees go, GA, which was Game Advisor at the time, you're the lowest level. You have a certain amount of numbers that you're supposed to hit. A certain amount of pre-orders, a certain amount of memberships, and a certain amount of credit cards every month that you're supposed to hit. And the higher up you go the ladder, the bigger the numbers are that you're supposed to hit. As an SGA or a senior game advisor, you're supposed to hit more of those things. As an ASM or assistant store manager, even more. And of course, as a store manager, the most. Now, while we're on the topic of the way the company is structured, above the store manager you have the district manager, and they oversee a couple different stores in their district. They generally don't really go in and sell product or do anything like that. They're just there for slight customer service every now and again when someone's like, I want to talk to your manager. But they are talking to the manager, and so they're like, I want to talk to even bigger manager. And so then you would say, well, you can call this store. This is the one where my district manager's office is at, and you can talk to him. The last thing you want to do, though, is give them your district manager's cell phone number. I never did it, but it's real bad to do that. So that didn't usually happen, and if you have ever wanted to talk to somebody's district manager, do not ask for their personal cell phone number because it's really not right. But then, of course, above the district manager, there was the regional manager. Now, I don't know exactly how many regional managers there are in the company, but there's not very many regions, I believe. Regions consist of multiple states, so a district manager might be one half of a state, or maybe a full state, and then a regional manager can be a lot of states, and they oversee a lot of different stores. Now, that information is important, so keep that in mind. And while you're at it, keep in mind the fact that when I started working at GameStop, the POS, or the point of sales system, i.e. the computer that we did transactions on, looked like this. Now, I know it looks like Windows 95, but it is super important that I'm bringing that up, and that is something that you'll want to remember for later in the video. Now that you understand the structure of the company and you understand where I was and my place in the system, let me paint a timeline for you. When I started in 2014, this was right at the beginning of the life cycle of the new systems. So needless to say, my job was a little bit different in 2014 than it was in 2017, or than it is even now. But one thing that I really want to hit on is what happened in 2015 and into 2016. This is what I like to consider the golden age of working at GameStop, and a time where people who work there currently are probably going to be very jealous that they didn't get to work there when it was actually going on. And this is the Service Matters movement. Now, this was a focus on customer service over selling things to people. This means that really the most important thing as far as your job is concerned is not getting pre-orders, it's not selling memberships, it's not getting warranties, or even selling or even selling pre-owned. This means that the most important thing was getting surveys, and getting good ones at that. At the bottom of every single receipt, there's a, hey, why don't you tell us how we did? You might enter to win a chance to get a $100 gift card. Oh my god. Nobody really fills out the survey, but if you could get someone to fill out the survey, and if they gave you a good score on that survey, that was really, really good for you. There was a focus shift over to how many surveys you got a month. Then all you needed to do was talk to the customer, be friendly to the customer, get the customer what they are looking for, and if they have questions and they need recommendations, you supply them, and then get a good survey. That's it. It was all about focusing on the customer. Now, the people who currently work at GameStop are probably infuriated that there was a point in the company's history where the focus was on getting surveys and the customer and not on everything else. I mean, frankly, they could care less about what your warranty or reservation numbers were. All they cared about was how many surveys you were getting. Now, to me, this is great. This is great business, and I think that if we're talking business-wise and logistics, I think this is what the company needs to go back to, but maybe formulated over a Costco sort of model, where it's all about making sure your employees are happy, making sure your customers are happy, and getting them to come back into the store and do it more frequently. Not making sure that they spend a lot of money while they're there. Because guess what? If you force them to spend a lot of money and they feel like their experience wasn't super great, they're probably not going to come back. And this leads into why I quit and where the company headed. And that was, they dropped the customer service thing. They stopped focusing on making sure that people got a great experience when they walked through the door. This is no more evident than the fact that during the customer service era, there was a difference in pricing. what they would do is they would actually use a percentage in order to take off the amount of money necessary when the game was pre-owned, i.e. the game was $60, they would take off 10% of that, and that would be the pre-owned price. Whatever the price was brand new, 10% off, and that's the pre-owned price. 20% off if you had a pro membership. That means that you would save $12 on a $60 game if you bought it pre-owned and you bought it with a membership. That was a pretty good deal, and it was fantastic. And then one day it all just fucking changed for no reason. Literally, I kid you not, there was a single day where all of a sudden we got an email that said, do not mention the 10% guarantee. That's what they wanted you to say previous to that. They wanted to push the message that that 10% off was guaranteed. And then one day they just said, no more guarantee. Take off all the signage that mentions the word guarantee, take off all the signage that mentions a percentage, we're going back to the way it was because we made more money that way. And then there was this shift of focus to GPGs, to those warranties, and they all of a sudden started pushing these warranties and saying, no, you need more warranties, more warranties, more warranties, more warranties. And then it was more reservations, and then it's more pro memberships, and then it's more pre-owned, and it just became overwhelming. Remember how I mentioned that this is what the POS looked like when I started? Well, they did something called the Retech launch, where they revitalized the POS system. Even though it's still using Windows Vista, and I gotta say, Vista really, not even Windows 7, it's just a better working version of Vista, come on! And it instead looked like this. This is what the POS looks like now. The reason I bring this up is because this tracks all of your numbers, this didn't. And this is fucking obnoxious. They did this so that they could very carefully keep track of all the numbers that everyone was getting, making sure that everyone is getting all of their GPG numbers, making sure that everyone is getting all of their reservation numbers. And if you were unsure about where you were, all you had to do was check. Open up the POS and see those yellow and red lines, because you probably weren't going to be hitting green because they set the numbers ahead of time for what your store was supposed to hit. That means that sometimes they would set 5% or 10% pro, and it's like, you expect 10% of people that come through the store during this week or during this month to sign up for a pro membership? That's fucking ridiculous. That's impossible. Unless, of course, I ask every single person that walks through the store, and every single person that says no, I ask them again, and I ask them again, and I ask them again. And I won't stop asking me until they punch me in the face or they leave. And this is how it was before I left, and this is how it is to this day. See, the problem is that even if it was like this prior to the Service Matters movement, I really wouldn't have known, because my district manager was super great. He was a fantastic guy, and he shielded us from most of the shit that fell downstream, right? So the regional manager would get yelled at by corporate, and then he would yell at the district manager, but the district manager stopped it right there, because he knew that yelling at us for not hitting the right numbers was not going to help. And then one day, poof, it was all gone. All the shit that was building up from the dam that our district manager had built now started to freely flow all the way down. And the reason being, he got fired. Why did he get fired? Because his districts were not performing adequately. I'm sorry, sir, your districts are not performing adequately. And this was a huge punch to the gut for all of us, because we all loved that district manager. He had been there for a really, really long time, and he was super great because what he cared about was making sure that his employees liked their job. When we got our new district manager, he didn't. He didn't at all care. He would yell at us without reservation because he didn't want to get yelled at. And that's how this system kind of works, right? I get yelled at and I don't want to get yelled at, so I'm going to yell at you. And then you yell at your employees because you don't want to get yelled at by me. And then they yell at their employees because they don't want to get yelled at by you. It's a cyclical shit storm of shit that goes around and shits on everybody's fucking shitty ass life. I understand that this may seem somewhat inconsequential to you. Nick, what does this have to do with me, right? What does this have to do with not working at GameStop? Well, the reason I bring it up, and the reason I feel like it's incredibly important for you if you are interested in working at GameStop, or maybe if you're working at GameStop right now and you've experienced some of this, is that this is the way this company works. This is the way this company has always worked, and even though it has tried to fix itself, it will continue to work this way. They don't care about you, the employee, and they don't care about you, the customer. All they care about is making money. Now I know what you're thinking. Nick, they're a business, of course they're all about making money. But the problem is that the way they make money means that they shit on everybody. They shit on the customer, they shit on their employees, and most importantly, they shit on their employees. The worst thing about working at GameStop is how you get treated as an employee.
Hey, how the fuck is it going? I'm Nick, and while I was editing this video that you're watching right now, I realized that there were two things that I didn't mention, two things that I didn't hit on. I apologize for the fucking shitty camera that you're watching right now, but that is that, number one, as an SGA, because of the minimum wage got raised in my state, it negated my raise when I became an SGA, so I was making the same as the regular GAs, the people who were working under me, and no one did anything about it, and that's because they didn't want to pay me more, until I brought it up to my store manager, and he was like, yeah, that is pretty fucked up, and then I got like a 20-cent raise or something like that. Whoop-de-fucking-do. The other thing is that, as an SGA, you're required to work a whole lot by yourself, because you're there opening or closing the store, and they don't want to pay multiple people to be there, which means that what ends up happening is you work 4 to 5 hours by yourself alone in the store, which means that you don't have any help fielding any shitty questions, or if someone decides that they want to rob you, they can do that. But I just thought I would mention those two things because they were probably the biggest reasons why I quit, and I don't know how I didn't mention them while I was actually making the video. So anyways, back to older Nick.
And so, hopefully through all this rambling and ranting, you've come to a clear, concise decision, and I hope that that decision is that you're not going to work at GameStop, and you'll work somewhere else. Or maybe if you are currently working at GameStop, you'll find another job instead of GameStop, because trust me, there are tons of other, better jobs out there. So with that, I'm going to leave you. Make sure that you check out Totally Original Let's Play, make sure that you check out other videos that I've done. If this is the first video that you're watching, make sure that you subscribe, and so you can check out more videos. My name is Nick. This has been Laugh and Grow Fat Reviews. I hope you laugh a lot, eat a lot, and have fun doing it. And you'll see me in the next video. Goodbye.